Welcome to Cannabis Marketing Live, all puff, no fluff. I am your host, Kendra Losey of Moda Marketing, and this is the show where we bring you the brightest, boldest, and most badass tools, tech, marketing minds in the cannabis and hemp CBD space. With us today, first of all, we are going to be talking about product packaging and design and what brands can do to really elevate their packaging and stand out in the minds of consumers. What are consumers demanding? What do we need to be providing for them? And how you can get an extra edge through your packaging. So with us today is Lilli Keinaenen, founder and designer of Changemaker Creative. Lilli is an expert in packaging design and focuses on sustainability. And she is actually going to be speaking at the Cannabis, words are hard today, you guys, I'm sorry. She's going to be speaking at the Cannabis Sustainability Symposium in Denver, Colorado on October 4th. Welcome, Lilli.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you.
Even if you gave me the tongue twister of the Cannabis Sustainability Symposium name. Right in the intro. Thank you.
You did great.
Thanks. So can you, before we get started with the things we're going to be talking about today and covering the sustainability and packaging and the trends and demand and all the things that go into that, can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how you got into the cannabis industry?
Sure. Changemaker Creative is a small company consisting of just me. I do branding and packaging design, as well as like marketing and all kinds of things, one-stop shop style. I got into cannabis in 2016. I was doing other kinds of consumer packaged goods, and then got my first cannabis client, and that's just, it's been a love story ever since.
I feel like it works the exact same way for me too. Yeah, it's almost the same
I
story.
was one of those late bloomers. Like I tried cannabis in my college years, hated it, and then found it in my 30s. So now I'm a convert. I'm really excited about it all the time. I want to talk about it all the time.
Well, how convenient, because that's what you're here to do today.
Indeed.
So some of the things that the topics we're going to be covering today include how consumer behavior is changing how we view packaging. Number 2 is where companies can find sustainable alternatives for wasteful cannabis packaging. And number 3, why consumers are willing to pay more for certain brand products. Now, before we get started, if you guys are watching, be sure and tell us where you're watching from and in the comments. And if you have any questions, add them to the comments and we'll be addressing them throughout. So we definitely want to hear from you. It's more fun when it's interactive. So comment below. So, it's like 80 degrees, 85 degrees in this room that I'm in right now. So I'm like, I've got this like glow, speaking of sustainability and global warming. So
You're glistening.
I'm glistening, and I think I'm getting a little crazy from all the heat here inside. So enough about me. Let's talk about consumer behavior and how it's changing how we view packaging. Can you talk a little bit about how consumer behavior is changing and what that means to us?
Yeah, I've been reading these really interesting studies where 86% of people that were surveyed wanted companies to do more than just focus on profit. Like they want companies to have some sort of values. And also, like in the same study, people were saying that they've made choices based on the values that the company supports and boycotted products that they don't feel like are standing with their values. And I would assume in the cannabis industry, it's probably higher. Like it's just a bunch of kind of more sustainably minded people who consume cannabis, nicer people. We are a nice bunch and care about the world. So it's probably higher. And I think the percentages of like 86% say that it's an important thing. And I think the percentage for people who've said that they have spent more, they've chosen the more expensive alternative because it fits their values. So consumers, it's not like a nice to have, it's something that consumers want companies to do.
And I think it's one of those things where, and I actually teach this in my marketing class, so I'm gonna not go into lecture mode. But it's definitely one of those things that when people say, "Oh yeah, the millennials are more likely to purchase and spend more money for companies
Mm-hmm.
whose values align with theirs," and that includes giving back, having some sort of corporate responsibility. But part of that, for many people, is also the sustainability. And
Mm-hmm.
so, just even in the last 3 or 4 days, I've seen ads on Instagram for upcycled bags, right? Like, I need a new computer bag. And there's some that are being made out of bicycle tires, there's some that are being made out of
Mm-hmm.
billboards, there's some that are being made
Yeah,
out of seat belts, right? Like anything that can be
I have one of
upcycled.
those.
Which the seatbelt bags?
Yes.
Yeah, they're great. Several of my friends do as well. But the thing is that all of those things, as we get more creative, as people become more creative, people are willing to spend extra money for that.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't just go into the upcycling, and it's also the recycling and how your packaging even begins. So
Yeah, and in the studies, like it wasn't just millennials. Millennials were, of course,
the bigger,
and Gen Zs were like the biggest,
right?
but then like from every age, including boomers, want this.
Absolutely. And I think that it keeps coming up for millennials because it's such a large market. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that most people, a lot of older people tend to forget is that millennials are now like the top age is like 36. So it's not like we're talking about 20-year-olds
Right,
anymore. It's they're,
right.
35, 36. So, and with all the
Mm-hmm.
buying power. So it's definitely something, depending on who your target audience is, that you want to align with. When you talk about packaging, what are there innovative packaging options that you've seen in the cannabis industry?
Oh, so many. I'm currently really excited about compostable exit bags.
Oh my gosh.
They So it's compostable mylar. It looks exactly like normal mylar, but it's compostable. So currently, like the plastic mylar bags can't be recycled at all, and the reuse percentage of those is really like quite low. So people ask customers to bring it back to a dispensary, but most people don't.
Right.
And plastic bags are among the biggest pollutants in the ocean. So having a compostable version of an exit bag, so even if it's tossed in the curb, it will end up composting and disappearing.
I love that idea. That's a
Yeah.
that's a great option for dispensaries. What
Hmm.
what about for products that are doing unique packaging or different options that you've seen? Because I know half the time I talk to you, you're
Hmm.
on your way to or from a packaging
Yes.
facility.
Yeah, I recently visited Sungrown Packaging, which is here in Oakland, and they do cardboard child-resistant boxes. So, a lot of child-resistant boxes are made out of plastic and
Mm-hmm.
have like foam inserts, which are really not very good for the environment, or it's a combination of cardboard and plastic pieces. But the sun-grown box is just full-on cardboard,
Love that.
and they've their new version of their box used to be kind of crunchy granola looking because it was like corrugated cardboard and it looked it, but their new version is very sleek and like fancy. So Bebo, as an example,
Mm-hmm.
uses a sun-grown box, and their branding is like fancy and gold and pretty.
They're the fancy designers. Yeah, no, that's a great option. What
Hmm.
about what about for the products themselves? So if you have a
Yes.
tonic or a tincture, I mean, I'm not going to start naming all the products.
Right.
Flour.
So yeah, there's options for all kinds of products. So um, basically, you want to think about the least amount of packaging that you can get away with. We know with like regulations, you have to have quite a bunch of packaging, but like some, say like a vape cart, a single gram of product can end up being in 30 grams of packaging
Oh my
when it's
gosh.
all said and done. So that's kind of dumb, and we can do better.
Right.
So there's options for every kind of product. So flour, you can have a glass jar. Glass is pretty good at recyclability,
Mm-hmm.
and some dispensaries and brands have like a take back program where the customer can bring back the jar and get a little discount off of the next purchase,
Mm-hmm.
and they can be rewashed and cleaned. There's a bigger version of a glass jar recycling program that's starting. I think it's Zekia Allen from the Growers Association who's figuring that out, where like all glass jars could be brought to a dispensary and they could get washed and labels removed and reused. So that would be awesome.
Well, that would be fantastic. It would,
Yeah.
just the impact. It's so everything we use, just remembering the impact that it has. And to
Mm-hmm.
your point, it's just an amazing statistic of 1 gram product can have 30 grams of packaging. That's a terrible ratio,
Yeah.
especially if most of it's
And
not
with
recyclable.
vape carts.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. And if most of it's not recyclable, that's not helping any of us in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
What do you find? So, when we, I want to go back to consumer behavior for a second.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at consumers, so consumers, I just want to drill this in a little bit more. So, consumers are demanding and willing to pay for more
Mm-hmm.
for companies that, or for products that have some sustainability aspect to them,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, how can companies do that authentically?
Yeah, because you don't want to just slap it on and greenwash,
Right,
because
exactly.
that's not, yeah, you have to actually put your money where your mouth is. And of course, the uncomfortable fact is the sustainable options for packaging are slightly more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So what you can't do is just say, oh, we are like sun grown and beautifully like eco-friendly grow, and then put it in a plastic pop top and call it a day.
Right.
That's just incongruent on your brand values and your packaging. So you have to have your ethos all the way through, from the way your product is grown and manufactured all the way to the product, and then what happens to the product once the consumer is done with the product.
Absolutely. Sorry, I was getting sidetracked. Stephanie is here, and with Stephanie Lou comes a bunch of a firestorm of likes and comments and questions.
Nice.
Thank you,
Preach.
Stephanie. Stephanie's awesome. She's a live broadcaster, and she helps companies or people like me be able to do live streaming. But
Yay.
yeah, no, I think the greenwashing comment and title is huge because it's so inauthentic, and people can
Hmm.
see through that, right? Like
Yeah,
people
people,
know, people are doing their
they know.
research. People know.
Yeah, they're very smart. They can see through the bullshit.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, you're also getting complimented on your green blouse.
Oh, thank you. It is actually a dress with pockets.
Pockets are so key. So packaging
Hmm.
and consumer demand. What are there?
Rice.
I'm sorry, rice.
Hmm. Right.
Oh, I thought you said rice. I was like, people are making product packaging out of rice? Tell me more.
Well, plant-based plastics are a thing.
Yeah, I actually keep hearing more about that. Are you
Hmm.
familiar with how they're working from a packaging standpoint?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag, because like the cups that you get at festivals that say compostable, eh, not actually compostable. Same with the forks you get at Whole Foods.
They're not?
Not really. It's not. It's a bit of a mixed bag, because a lot of them are actually half petroleum-based plastic, half
Right, right.
plant-based plastics, and they're not really recyclable as plastic, but they're also not really compostable. They're more like biodegradable, which ends up being actually a worse thing, because the plastic breaks into a million little pieces. that end up in the water, and then the fish eat it, and not good. But it's still better than 100% petroleum based plastic item. So it's a mixed bag.
Okay. Yeah, I had visions of sporks and things just decomposing quickly. It's hard when, I've been thinking about it a lot lately, actually, when plastic started and now the impact that it's had in such a short time, over the time that we've been here. And so I feel like it's part of our responsibility in this industry to do our best job, right? To your point, if companies are talking about making sure that everything's organic and can pass all the lab tests and has such a high quality of product, it's our responsibility also to carry that through.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I mentioned that we were going to be talking in in the CBD Facebook group that I have for women entrepreneurs in CBD, one of the questions that came up is are there two questions? Are there programs, or how hard is it to create a program for companies that are doing lotions or balms or what have you, and have that be a recyclable packaging program, so the product package itself could be recycled in a way that would help benefit everybody? Is that a possibility? How hard is it? Have you seen that done before?
I have seen, of course, some packaging can be recycled in just in your normal recycling. The U.S. recycling numbers are not that great. Like, I think we recycle like 9% of our plastics and like 40-something% of our glass. So, but yeah, like it's definitely, so there's basically like three things you want to think about when choosing packaging. Okay. One is like the source material. Is that a renewable resource? Like, is it plant-based, oil-based? Then the second thing is the recyclability. So things like glass and aluminum are easier and better to recycle than plastic. So even like the water bottles that you put in the recycling, those don't actually recycle as much as they downcycle. So they're not made into new water bottles. They're made into like park benches and frothy shoes. So they like downgrade into raw material instead of being like reused. Whereas glass and aluminum can both be like made into basically the same level of material again.
That's so interesting. And then the third thing?
And now I'm spacing on the third thing. It's going to come back to me.
You're on such a roll.
So, yes. So I skipped one. So one was the source material. The second was how it's made.
Okay.
So what the manufacturing ecological footprint is. And then the third one was the recyclability.
Okay. It's always fascinating to me. I don't know if you're familiar with, and I know it's outside of the industry, but Kite Hill, like the almond plant-based products. So I picked up some of their yogurt not too long ago, their almond milk yogurt, and it had, the package itself was made out of plant material, so it was compostable. The second thing was the wrapper. Like, you actually peeled off the label, and that was made out of a paper product, so that was recyclable. So the foil top was recyclable. So the entire thing could be recycled and composted in a way that made me want to pay. Like, if I have options, and if I really, really need almond milk yogurt, that's the option I always pick, even though it is always more expensive. But I know I can take the container apart and piece it apart, and I feel better about myself.
And even so if you say you end up buying aspirational yogurt and then you end up not eating it, then you could, like with that package, you can throw the whole thing into your compost. Because if it's all paper, so it's all compostable. So you can just toss it and make it easy, because people are a little lazy. So the easier you make it to do the right thing,
it's true,
the more likely they are to do it.
It's true. I like the aspirational yogurt. I have aspirational vegetables in my refrigerator.
Me too.
It's too hot to cook. Um, so is there have you seen any equivalent of that in the cannabis or CBD space when you start looking at products and packaging?
Yeah. We have sauna packaging, of course. They
Mm-hmm.
do a hemp-based plastic, and they also have a really neat line now because so their hemp line, it is brown, so it doesn't fit every brand because it is very brown. But they now have a new line that's reclaimed ocean plastic. So it's like trash collected from the ocean made into new plastic, and that's it's white, so it looks a little tidier.
Yeah,
And they do like they have a flower container and like pre-roll tubes,
love that. Love that.
and they're made in the U.S. because that's one of the bigger footprints is also like shipping stuff around the world.
So, if you could design a product packaging for a client
Mm-hmm.
from start to finish, since Lilli does design as well and helps with all of these pieces, what would you recommend?
Ooh, that's a broad
I
question.
know. Should I narrow it down to a product? You want a vape pen, flower, or, well, flower's too easy. Vape pen, tincture, or, I don't know, a lovely face cream.
Yes. So it really depends. First of all, it depends on where your market is. If it's a hemp-based CBD product, then the options are a little broader
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have to do the child resistant stuff. The child resistance options are slightly more limited, but there's tons of options for every type of product to choose. Um, and there's options for everything to be plastic free. We found a really cool little sample size, little teeny tiny little vial.
Uh-huh.
So it's a glass vial with a cork top. We're going to
Ooh.
put a cardboard little card on it. And
Mm-hmm.
then to make it child resistant, we're going to add a compostable little Mylar baggie around it.
That's awesome.
So that's going to be a face serum sample,
That's great.
fully plastic free.
That is amazing.
So
Um,
sometimes it requires thinking a little bit outside of the box on how to get the child resistance in there.
right. Yeah, that one's always a tricky part. You could always, like, put some sort of combination lock on it that requires the square root of pi or something.
Hmm.
I don't know. Just kidding. Um,
Yeah.
but no, that's really interesting. I think and it sounds like it, because that's for the green bee, maybe? No? The
Hmm.
other client?
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Green bee botanicals.
which is high end face tonics, serums, creams,
Eye cream.
eye cream. What are you saying?
I'm not saying anything.
I've
I'm
got the
saying you
glow.
look lovely.
I've got the
Yeah, you
glow
got the
going.
glow.
But the packaging is, I love that idea because I see samples and I see so much waste, and so being
Hmm.
able to narrow that down and actually put for consumers like us, right, who are spending money based on these
Hmm.
choices, like this is actually something that a lot of consumers increasingly pay attention to. Especially
Yeah.
with all the news about, I know people hate cardboard straws, but it's a reality of the impact of straws. As
Hmm.
someone who drinks iced coffee daily, it's something that I really pay attention to. Um, so it's making sure
Indeed.
that you're paying attention to all of these details because all of these details matter in
Hmm.
the eyes of the consumer. Um,
And it doesn't necessarily cost more. Like if you if you're just a little creative, you can figure stuff out. Like I saw a really cool delivery box where instead of exit bag, they're using a big cardboard box that the exterior box is child resistant, so they can put non-child resistant stuff inside. So it's like the
yeah,
whole like
yeah,
delivery box itself is child resistant, which is like really cool.
yeah. So how do you are and this is I know this is kind of off our off our list, but how do you recommend looking at it, right? Like if you have this problem of how do you make your product line, socially responsible
Hmm.
for the environment, how do you go about trying to break it down and look at the different options? Because I think that part of that is knowing what options exist or knowing what questions to ask to try and find
Hmm.
those options. So is there a
Yeah.
process, a methodology that you help people with to walk through that and look at the different options?
Yeah. So there's with my clients, I go through like what the needs are, like what the physical needs are for the product. Is it a liquid? Is it an edible? Does it need to be food safe? Like all the practical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talk a little bit about price point. And then I have a long list of all kinds of packaging options in my brain and on my Pinterest board. And then I can come up with some ideas of how to combine those things
Mm-hmm.
to achieve all the things that we need to do. It has to start from what the product is and how it needs to work.
Right. And probably a little bit of who they're selling it to.
Yeah, like
Mm,
you can't put the same thing. Like if it's too hard to open, it's not going to be old people friendly.
right. Oh, old people friendly, hard to open packaging.
Hmm. They're very like a lot of the child resistant packaging is very Lilli unfriendly. I can't open some of it because I have small hands and some of them require you to like push on like five sides and twist and uh,
More than
that's a
once,
rant for another day.
more than once I've had to find a friend to help open up stuff.
Yeah.
Now, is it true? Because I heard that in order to test child-proof packaging, that they actually bring kids in to test them when they're
Hmm.
designing it. Is that true?
Yeah.
Have you seen that in
That's how,
action? Do they bring old people in too? Because I love this idea.
yeah. Yeah, so it's a testing lab where they have kids in a room. They give
Uh-huh.
you the box and tell the kid to try to open the box. And the kids are allowed to jump on it, stomp on it, bite it, do whatever they can to
Yeah.
try to open it without any tools. And if they can open it within 5 minutes, then it doesn't pass testing. Like I think there's like a certain number of kids, and if like some percentage doesn't get it open, then that's good enough. And then the other side is that it needs to be friendly enough for old people. So they also have old people trying it.
I feel like watching videos of kids trying to open things is something I could do for hours.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen
Like,
a video like the 5-year-olds, they're ferocious.
yeah, that's why I'm like, I feel like it could be something that I could watch for hours to try and get figured out. Um,
Hmm.
like, just, I mean, even just
And of
entertainment
course,
with some
yeah.
popcorn and like,
Oh, yeah. See them go at it. But yeah, of course, and it's quite expensive. And each time a packaging company has to make a new version and send it out to testing, I think it's like several grand.
I'm sure.
So it's yeah, that's why all the child resistant packaging is so limited and in only a couple sizes because every single size needs to be tested separately.
That is so much money.
Yeah. So it's I'm more sympathetic towards the packaging companies for not addressing all my needs and wants because it's expensive for them. It's been
Right.
a big investment.
And that's something to, like I said, I think it's fun and I love the idea that it's actually like that's how they guarantee that it's childproof is by actually
Mhm.
testing it with kids. For some
Right.
reason, that didn't occur to me when I first was like, oh, child resistant, whatever. Not picturing that, but,
Yeah.
it can't, it's got to be something that is expensive for companies to do.
Mhm.
But hopefully, more of them will be willing to do those types of tests with products
Mhm.
that are sustainable because it does make such a difference and it makes such a lasting impact
Yeah.
on an industry and space where people aren't. There's a lot of the country and a lot of people that still aren't open to it and stereotypes. So
Mhm.
whatever we can do to be more responsible, I think, is important for all of us on many different
Yeah.
levels. Um, And then the last thing, so we wanted to talk about where to find sustainable alternatives for wasteful packaging, which
Mhm.
you've mentioned a few. Do you have any other options for people off the top of your head that you want to shout out?
Um, Green Packaging Solutions. They're out of Santa Cruz, and they do a really fun new flower jar that's basically like a paint can.
Oh,
So it's like a mini paint can, and you need thing to open it, hence
yeah.
childproof. And it's
Oh,
aluminum, and you can add a label to it and make it pretty.
that's so smart.
Yeah, simple.
Yeah. And, shout out to Santa Cruz.
Yes.
My people.
Go, go, banana slugs.
Yes. Go banana slugs. My people. So are there any others? Because that one sounds great, and I'm surprised more aren't using that.
Yeah, so that's a new product that they came up with. Um, I also like a company called Tin I actually have it here. So it's what Kikoko uses for
Oh,
their.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's fully aluminum, and it's like really pretty because you can print the whole thing, and it's easy enough to open.
Yeah.
Like it's not crazy, and it doesn't have any plastic in it.
And the entire thing can be recycled? Maybe.
Indeed, yeah. So the whole thing, because it doesn't. So like, because it's aluminum, it recycles
Gotcha.
beautifully.
Perfect.
There are some other aluminum can packaging in the cannabis industry where the child resistant piece is actually plastic. So then the whole thing ends up not being recyclable because it's a piece of plastic glued on aluminum.
So
So
stay away
yeah,
from plastic, guys, unless it's plant-based plastic.
yeah, and even then, when it's a combination material, it just makes it hard to recycle.
There's so many nuances. I had Bumblebee Tuna was a client of mine for a while when I was at an agency, and we had long conversations because they were doing a whole almost essentially as like a trace and like a tracking for where your fish, you could see where your fish was caught, what kind of boat, what method it
Hmm.
was used, how it was canned, where it was canned, the entire process from catch to store.
Hmm.
And as part of that, we had a long conversation with them about the packaging and and what options were available besides what they were currently doing. So it was just fascinating to hear all the
Hmm.
nuances of what goes into production of that size, but even like the smaller productions and smaller companies and brands that are still trying to produce something and yet take these steps, as you said, to make it organic, and but they stop short when it comes to the packaging because I think a
Right.
lot of people aren't aware of the options.
And like, understandably, when the new regs came out, everybody just scrambled to get something to just get compliant. But now is the time to like go back and rethink.
Right, strategically. And part of your brand values,
Yeah.
because if your brand values include sustainability, corporate responsibility, anything that all of
Hmm.
us believe in, it's important to take all those last steps and then and really pay attention to it.
Hmm.
So we covered the main points. Before we go in the speed round, do you have any last thoughts? I know there was something that. Go ahead.
I am offering a sustainability audit call. So if you're confused about any of this, you can give me a call and I can take a look at your existing packaging and basically tell you what you're doing wrong and what you could do better.
Love that. So it's a little bit of a packaging audit,
Pretty much, yeah.
but not called that, but
But it
called
can be
something
other
cooler.
things too, like trade show booths, your marketing materials, any kind of, because every stuff that you buy, like one example I mentioned to people is like, if your company is like eco-friendly and beautiful and organic, and then your trade show giveaway is like a fidget spinner, it just doesn't like quite
Fit
work
it all
out.
together. Fit it all together.
Because
Yeah. Go ahead.
like the best choice you can make is to make less stuff.
Right.
So there's a lot of other ways to like make less stuff. Like for example, not printing 50,000 brochures that are 24 pages and big and glossy with big pictures. If the information in it will be outdated in a matter of a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
So the sustainability thinking can be expanded to like all the things.
And that can save money. Many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I moved a company from a paper catalog that they sent out every quarter that was huge to
Mm-hmm.
digitizing it and figuring out options for people that were, on ships for the military and might not always have internet access. Figured out all these
Mm-hmm.
different options for people, and it saved them. I think over the course of a year, we figured out that it would save them over $100,000 for an investment up front of
Yeah.
maybe $10,000 at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
it also, I think that when you start looking at stuff, it makes you a little more scrappy and creative.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of
Especially the cannabis industry, because things keep changing every 6 months anyway. So if you think about your content in your stuff, like we've all heard those stories where people are applying new and new labels on their boxes. The regs keep changing, or our understanding of the regs keep changing. So doing like ginormous warehouse full of packaging that you end up not
right,
using,
right,
that's like the biggest waste of money
right, yeah.
and resources.
It's hard. It's just hard to gauge, right? Like, there's been so many regulation
Mm-hmm.
changes and so many back and forth in terms of what's required that, to your point, I get it, right? I get it till now.
Yeah,
But things are kind of simmering down a little.
I think so.
So hopefully they
Let,
can
yeah,
stay there.
2020 less crazy.
That's the goal. 2020
Yeah.
less crazy. Hashtag less crazy. um, Okay, so you've got an awesome promo. You guys can get a hold of Lilli. I put her on the screen when she was talking about it with her contact information.
Mm-hmm.
You want to give them your URL too, because that what?
Sure. And so the sustainability stuff will be living in changemakercreative.com/sustainability.
So good, so easy, awesome. Okay, ready for a speed round? And I think I mentioned this before. I need to get some speed round music going in the background. I'll get fancier with the speed round and a
Okay.
little timer. But until then, okay. What are your favorite? So speed round question number 1. What are
Mm-hmm.
your favorite cannabis, marijuana, hemp, CBD products?
Here, somatic sparks. They're like a really small microdose little goji berry that has
Ooh.
CBD and THC, and it's like a little piece of chocolate
Oh,
covered goji berries. So it's a perfect little, because I'm a low dose gal, so those work for me.
nice. And what networking events or conferences do you recommend people check out?
I am definitely going to Females to the Front, which is in Palm Springs in September.
Yeah.
I'm also going to be going to the Lady Jane Society event in Hilmar, California.
Yes.
The Cannabis Sustainability Symposium, of course. So I'll be speaking there. Meadowlands was an amazing camp. You need to be my camp buddy next year,
Okay.
Kendra.
All right. We'll work on that. Let's talk.
Weed summer camp. What's not to love?
Weed summer camp. I'm in.
And the cannabis marketing, shout out to the Cannabis Marketing Association. Lisa has been killing it.
Lisa's awesome. She is great.
And I've been enjoying like the Facebook groups too, like the Cadence List, Women Empowered in Cannabis. Great group. Like anything you ask there's always somebody who knows the answer.
And is willing to share it.
Yeah, we're such a helpful bunch.
We really are.
Love.
I know, so much love, and shout out to the CBD group as well. You guys are the same and
Yes.
equally awesome. Okay, now switching gears to get a little nerdy here for the second to the last speed round question. What books, publications, podcasts are you currently consuming? Any favorites?
On like the personal side, I'm reading this book called You Are a Badass, which is kind of a self-help book,
How is
but
it?
in a way where she like swears, and it's not like it's not a Marianne Williamson type of self-help book. It's more of a badass kind of self-help book.
How is it? Do you like it? I've picked it up.
So
I
many
haven't.
people, I like it. Yeah, the first couple of chapters I was struggling on, and then like page 80 onwards, I've been super into it.
I think I got stuck.
Just because I'm in a business building kind of mode. So I've been listening to a lot of like how I made this, smart leaders sell, side hustle school is so much fun. It's basically a daily podcast of people building their like passion projects on the side.
Yeah, that one's good too.
Because I'm also working on a course.
Ooh, teaser alert.
Side hustle.
Teaser alert. Awesome. We'll have to have a conversation about that when you get a little farther along on that.
Pitch decks.
Pitch decks, she whispers. Sounds like a great topic. Okay. And the last one is, where can people find you to connect? You already give us your URL for the sustainability, but where can people find you?
Mm-hmm. I'm on Instagram a lot. I'm on Facebook a lot. Both those are Changemaker Creative Co. And I'm also now on the LeafWire. I've been getting a lot of connections there. It's a new platform that I haven't really used much, but there seems to be interesting people and discussions happening there.
Good.
I'm also on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
And
Anywhere.
Yeah.
You're on my Slack channel. You're on.
I am. Shout out to Womanati Slack channel.
Poor Lilli. She's the one I'm bothering her constantly. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Lilli. It's always great talking to you, whether it's targeting clients, products, sustainability, life, events, all of the above.
Give me a topic, I'll rant about it.
Perfect. Love it. But the sustainability and packaging is really, really important. So I appreciate you being here to talk with us and share your wisdom with everybody. So if you guys have any questions, add them to the comments, and Lilli and I will be keeping an eye out to get back to you. And thank you for being here. Once again, I'm Kendra Losey, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.